known for their amazing luck. They're the last standing team, other than the Mayan Five, and their ability to charm the pants off of everybody, giving them the nickname the Blonde Bandits. Please welcome Haley and Kayley, or Haley and Kaylynn from Amazing Race.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
And our names are total tongue twisters, so even our parents do that.
We also get it confused.
We also do it, yeah.
So my first question I always talk about your casting process. How did you get on The Amazing Race? Oh God, frozen again. Wait, okay, now we're good. You froze out for a little bit.
Oh no. Oh.
Now you're back. So
okay. I'm back. Okay, perfect.
Sorry, my first question is, talk about your casting process. Were you fans of the race? How did you get involved? And what kind of stood out, and why do you think they picked you?
So Haley and I have been fans of The Amazing Race since we were kids. We used to watch it when we were like 10, 12 years old. We were huge fans of the race back then. But then we just kind of fell out of watching it for a while. You know, we just like moved on with our lives, and we just haven't really been watching it for the past like decade. I was a cast producer actually reached out to me on Instagram and asked if I wanted to, if I'd be interested in trying out for it. So it kind of just happened really out of nowhere. And I went for it, and I, of course, was going to do it with Haley. So we tried out for it, and they sent us out to LA for finals. And we got the call that we were leaving in a month. And that's how it went. And so when we were there, we were in finals for about a week. And we were there with probably about 30 other teams. And each day, teams just started dropping out, and they just weren't making it. And Haley and I just kept lasting and lasting. And we were like, oh my God, I think we got the race. And so we were pretty shocked that we got it. But I think that something that stood out about Haley and I is that our relationship is a lot different from the other contestants' relationships. Like, we are, not only are we best friends, but we're roommates, we're partners, and we are just like glued to the hip. Mm-hmm. So Amazing Race is all about relationship in that way.
Yeah. But I totally agree.
Like, what did you expect the race to be, and how did that impression change?
So we expected the race to be extremely hard, very challenging. We expected to have stiff competition. We expected, it to be a challenge because, you know that you're going against athletes and the people that we were in casting with. We were casting with Gary and D'Angelo, Kelly and Lavonne, Leo and Alana. So already we knew we were up against football players and Olympians and Harvard, which we didn't know that's exactly what they were. But we
Leo
knew
and Alana look smart.
They look smart. So we already knew we had our work cut out for us, and that it would be really hard. And it was every bit as challenging as we thought it would be.
Yes.
It was just as hard. It's just as challenging. It is exhausting. And at the same time, it's the coolest thing that anyone could ever do in their life. Mm-hmm. So it was, I would say not exactly what I expected, but
I think it was like even more than what we expected. Like, I think that we expected to come out like having all these friends, but we came out having like this huge family, not only just of the other racers, but of past racers from other Amazing Race seasons, and with a whole production family. So it was just like super rewarding for us.
Mm-hmm. Any first impressions you had of the other teams that were like completely wrong?
That's a good question. Yes. We actually haven't gotten that question yet.
No,
I like that question. That's a really good one. So with Leo and Alana, it's so funny because when you're in casting, the production asks you to take a notebook with you and write down your impressions of the other teams, and then come later and talk about it. So our impressions of the other teams were Leo and Alana, we thought that they were magicians. They were not magicians. It's because when you're in casting, they put you in this big room, and in the room you're watching a couple episodes of The Amazing Race, and then they like have you write down your opinions on it. And so Leo and Alana are
so excited about a Houdini challenge. They're magicians.
Yep.
That's it. They're magicians.
And also in casting, we like Haley said earlier, is that we were in casting with Kelly and Lavonne. And we had gym time and pool time with them. So they'll let you leave your hotel room to go to like specific scheduled events like gym time and pool time. And so each time it was with Kelly and Lavonne, and at the pool time, Haley and I would be tanning, and Kelly and Lavonne were literally doing push-ups by the pool.
Yeah.
So we knew that they were athletes.
Yeah.
We just did not know that they were freaking Olympians.
No, we did not.
Yeah,
But yeah, go ahead.
I wonder what they thought of you, like with these two blonde chicks standing there, like they're in for a shock.
They
Yeah.
actually told us that they're
They thought we
they
were
called us the mean
blonde
blondes.
girls, and we were like, oh.
I know, they obviously changed their opinion on that. We're
Yeah.
like best friends with them. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so going into the first leg, how bad was rolling those barrels? Because you obviously just got off a flight, and I mean, people don't realize that bending over is really difficult. So, and you're like bending over in the street, and you're getting screened by like Gary and D'Angelo and all those people. And it's not like you shove your way past them. At least I don't think. How bad was that? Because that looked miserable.
And it's crazy because, you know, that was our first challenge.
Yeah.
So, you know, your heart is pumping and you're so nervous. And then as soon as and that's all, you know, your adrenaline hits you and you're going.
Yeah.
So we were going and Kaylynn kept hitting my ankles with her. So I was like, dude, I was like, let me get in front of you.
Yeah.
So we switched places, or no, I was like, let me get behind you. So we switched places, but
it was back-breaking work.
Yeah, it was hard.
Back-breaking.
And it's hot. It's really hot there.
Yeah.
We're sweating.
And it's so funny because Leo was behind us, and then Kelly and Lavonne were behind Leo. And Leo had a method to where he was like kind of like zigzagging in and out, trying to not let the girls go past him. And I was like, that is a genius method. Haley and I like couldn't even think to have a method at that moment because we were just go, go, go.
Yeah. Yeah, we were like, we just got to roll these barrels into a party. Where's the party at?
Where's the party? Where's the devil?
Where is everything?
Yeah.
Where are we?
So how do you deal with the panic of being in the back? How do you deal with the panic of being in the back of the pack? Because obviously we saw that in that first roadblock, you're one of the last three teams. I mean, it's obviously not a physical roadblock, thank God, because we're against the runners, Gary and D'Angelo, and the noodlers. So that would be a disaster if it was anything physical. But like, how hard was that? Because I'm pretty good at memory things, so it didn't really seem like the music was too difficult. It was just like making sure that you memorize it, or how difficult was it? Because you seem like
we're talking about Berlin.
The
steel jump. Oh, that. Yeah, that was rough. That was really hard actually, because it was raining that day. So the steel jumps were like falling out of your hand, and your hands are so slippery from the rain. So that one was pretty challenging, and being in the back was always such a defeating feeling for us. Like, it was just, you have so much extra stress because you are in the back, and if you're the only one doing the roadblocks, so say it's me doing it, I have all this extra pressure seeing Haley on the sidelines waiting for me. So it's not fun being in the back of the pack. We were only in the top of the pack once, and that was like
Brazil,
the best feeling in the world. But we were so used to being in the backpack that we just actually got used to it.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep a positive mindset because you can always just make up time.
Yeah, you can't panic. You just have to go with it.
So how much fun after you finish the leg and you're still in it? Obviously, you have to do back-to-back legs, which is exhausting, I can only imagine. But how much fun was like clown school? Is that kind of like cathartic after you're like exhausted and like, yeah, this is like kind of fun, even though we're not towards the top, and at least it's we can laugh about?
Well, clowns. Yeah, clown school definitely wasn't my forte because they put you in that wheel and they spin you, and then you have to climb up and walk the tightrope. And I really, really don't like heights at all. I don't like things that flip me, turn me. I hate roller coasters, hate all of it. But I actually found the tightrope to be fairly easy. You just had to be slow and steady with it. And we grew up working in restaurants because our parents owned them. So we learned how to carry a tray and all that. So that was kind of, once I got out there, I was like, oh, I can do this. And we got through it. I got through that one really quick.
Yeah, you did.
But clown school was just, it was funny. But also, we didn't know where we were at. We didn't know who's behind us. But then Kelly, Lavonne, and Frank and Jerry came behind us. And we're like, okay, cool. We're a little bit ahead.
Frank and Jerry was ahead of us.
Oh, they were ahead of us. Who was
it was
behind
just
us?
Kelly and Lavonne.
Just Kelly and Lavonne.
Yeah,
So
we knew that once we got to that truck challenge, we had a beast throwaway. And what they don't show is that our clue actually floated off into the wind at the horns challenge. So we didn't have our clue to see that it says enable your horns.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So talking about that, where did the bond with Leo and Alana really start? I think I heard in one podcast you just liked them in casting, but was there like one thing that like really stuck out and you were like, okay, we're going to be like friends for life, other than like them helping you in that leg? Was there anything before that we missed?
There was a few moments with Leo and Alana that really stuck out to us where we decided that like it was real and that we just genuinely had a connection with them. It's kind of like dating. But with Leo and Alana, we were in casting with them. We would always be like in the same van, because when you're in casting, you take like little field trips to go to like CBS headquarters or to go do like the green screen or anything like that. So we were always in the same van with them, and they were always cracking jokes. They were always getting in trouble because you really aren't allowed to talk to the other teams. But we were also like, our pool time was similar to them. So they would be playing chicken in the pool with like little kids. So we thought that they were really funny immediately. And then immediately when we were going from LA to Trinidad, I was on the flight right next to them. So I was in the same seats with them, and we just started talking about everything, and I just started bonding with them immediately. And then right after the flight, I went up to Haley and I was like, we're going to love them. They're going to be our favorites. They're hilarious.
Because they are so funny.
They're just like us.
Yeah.
Like, we're very, very similar personalities. And we were always kind of in the first couple of legs, we were in the back with them. So we had a different flight time with them from Trinidad to Tobago. So we were on the second flight, and from then on, we just bonded, and we never formed a real alliance, which was our biggest regret of the whole experience, to not solidify this alliance with them, because it was more loose. Like, once they helped us, and then once we repaid them in Manaus, after that, it was just even. So that was our biggest regret, but we had no idea about the Mayan Five. And if we did know about the Mayan Five, then we would have 100% solidified a legit alliance with them.
Yeah, and I'll definitely mention the Mayan Five a little bit later. But how close was that finish? Because we actually saw, I don't think people noticed, when Frank and Jerry finished in 9th, you guys were directly leaving the mat. So how close were you to getting eliminated? Because that looked, because people didn't realize like how close that was in terms of like timing and stuff like that. Did you just, was that like the one time where you had good taxi luck?
Did you ask us we were to, were you asking, what's the question?
I said, how close was that, were you to actually getting eliminated in that second leg? Because we saw like once you guys left the mat, and I'm not sure, because Phil does like the interviews or whatever afterwards, Frank and Jerry were just arriving. Was it actually really that close, or?
Yeah,
I would say it was really close. We left the trucks, and Frank and Jerry were, because as soon as Leo and Alana told us what to do, Kelly and Lavonne, Frank and Jerry, they all heard it. So we all were neck and neck, and it was just came down to who asked for that check quicker. So we asked for the check, we finished it quicker, asked for the check quicker, and we were out of there. But then Frank and Jerry were hot on our tail, but then Kelly and Lavonne got really held up by their taxi, and they were super far behind because of their taxi.
Evangelisto, who was Kelly and Lavonne's like nemesis, he was the worst taxi ever for them. He got them very lost going from the trucks to the pit stop, so they didn't have a chance. But when we were leaving we were leaving our pit stop with Bill, and Frank and Jerry were coming up, so they were right next to us, and we were also right next to Leo and Alana. So it was very risky for them to have helped us with that, because we were right behind them. So if they had one problem with their taxi, they would have been out.
Yeah, so after that, you go to the third leg, and how much fun was that? Because you obviously got to go shopping, and I totally get, you're probably used to interacting with a bunch of people, and like your taxis went the right way, and like you brought the stuff to the Roadblock, and obviously being from Charleston, we're probably used to like all that good food and cooking and all that stuff. So everybody here is probably like used to that. So how much fun was that leg? Like you got to see that cool Amazon warrior like shooting down the clue. So how fun was that actually just doing the leg and being in the front of the pack for once?
Being in the front of the pack for us was incredible. It was something we hadn't experienced yet and didn't experience again after that. So it was very surreal.
Yeah.
And just to be in Brazil in general is surreal. And you're in these huts with, you know, families and kids and moms, and it's crazy. It's actual people there, you know, and they live out there, and it's their culture, and to experience it was so amazing. But the market, I wouldn't really say was fun. It was mayhem.
It was wild.
Yeah.
It was very chaotic.
The shopping list was in Portuguese. We don't speak that, so we had to find somebody to help us find everything. And then, you know, you get into the hut, and it's really smoky, so you're just drowning in smoke, and it was tough. It was really tough, but it was
was my favorite. That was my favorite challenge, my favorite leg, my favorite country.
So after you finish in the top of the pack, well, obviously you turn Frank and Jerry to help Leo and Alana, but then disaster strikes in the Paraguay leg. So I actually watched this secret scene, and what people don't realize, in your taxi, I don't understand why you're doing this. You're like, I feel so bad for the taxi driver. He doesn't know where he's going. Why didn't you get out of the taxi? Like, it looked like you were not like in a bad neighborhood, but you literally looked like you were in the middle of nowhere, like in like a literal like where they dump trash or whatever. It looked like that's where you were. So were you just like nervous of like getting out of a taxi, or like why were you just like, oh, I feel so bad for this person? It's like, what are they doing?
That's funny. Yeah. So there was actually a few reasons why we didn't get out of that taxi. Well, on your clue, it normally would state like, find your marked taxi. So with that, we didn't think that we were allowed to leave that taxi because that was the taxi we originally had from the airport. So we didn't know, like seeing it now, I would see Will and James actually, or Michelle and Victoria get out of their taxis, but we thought that we had to stay in our marked. Asked to get us a new taxi, but she wasn't understanding anything that we were saying. And also the locations that we were in, there was no taxis around. And if we were to get out of her taxi, we could have been in like some serious danger.
Yeah.
Because at that point, that was actually a really scary leg for us. We normally always ride with a security team at all times. Any leg you go, you always have security with you. But we were so far off the grid, being that she lost us for 2 hours, that our security lost us as well. So we were completely on our own for that, and it was actually really scary, and we were not getting out of that taxi at that point.
And we felt bad for her because it was her personal vehicle, and she was panicking. She was freaking out because she knew that we were upset because we were lost, and like obviously she knew it was a challenge, and she knew we needed to get there quickly, and she was so lost. So she was flying through potholes, and it's her personal vehicle. It's not like you know, it's not a rental car, it's not Amazing Race's car, it's her car. And you know, like we were thinking of the bigger picture. It's like, if she messes up her car, she has to pay for that. You know, she has to deal with that. We don't know her money situation. We don't know. All we know is she is so stressed. She looked like she wanted to cry. You could just see panic in her eyes. And she was a woman too. So naturally, I just wanted to just hug her.
Yeah. So after you get through the ride from hell, you get the I don't know what else you would call it.
The challenge from hell.
But after you get to the roadblock, how difficult was that? Because y'all seem to be really good at the challenges, but this one seemed to be like really time consuming, and we obviously saw it with like a lot of teams. But was there like a specific thing that you actually struggled with in that?
So the challenge of Paraguay was extremely difficult for me. We already arrived at the challenge 2 hours behind everybody else, so they already got a leg up for 2 hours, and then it was so a lot of them helped each other. Like the Mayan Five obviously helped each other. And then you have Michelle and Leo, who are the only ones out of that were out of the alliance, but they both play instruments. So they are both very musically talented, and they're around strings instruments, and I'm not. So my bridge kept collapsing on the cello, and every time it would collapse, the whole cello would just go to crap. So I had to keep starting over from scratch. So that challenge took me 4 hours, and that one, I knew we were out. We knew we were out from the moment we got into that taxi. But like that challenge was hard. That was my hardest challenge I did.
Oh, so you even knew, like, even with the whole Gary and D'Angelo, like, struggling in the watermelon thing, you guys were still, like, nowhere close?
We had no idea that Gary and D'Angelo were at the watermelon challenge for so long. They thought that they were out, but I think that we were probably like 30, 45 minutes away from them, behind them. Would you say?
I have no idea.
Yeah, we actually have no idea how far behind we were to them. So if I would have finished maybe that challenge like an hour ahead of time, then maybe we could have made it. Yeah.
So what is that like with, like, because I didn't realize, and I'll get to this like in the 5th and 6th, like, so Phil gives you these speeches and then he tells you what place you're in. And if it was me, I'd be like, just tell me what place I'm in and then give me a speech. Like, don't make me like be nervous and be like, oh, we feel like we're screwed and now we're not. And like, so what was that like realizing it was a non-elimination, like, and then just Phil being like, oh, it's not your day, you're screwed. And then he's like, oh, you're back in the race.
Every time Phil would do that, we were like always so shocked, and we were already like had accepted the fact that we thought that we were out, and then he would just breathe new life into us, and it was just like the most exciting feeling ever. But he would definitely taunt us. He's good at it.
So was there anything that we missed in the 5th leg with your stick shift troubles?
Yes. In the 5th, are you talking, is that
Paris?
Oh, in Paris.
Or no, that's Germany. That's Paris,
Germany?
right? Or Germany?
Oh, it's Paris.
Paris.
Oh, okay, so she was the stick driver.
Haley was actually supposed to be the one to drive the stick shift, but she couldn't get it to work, and so we really weren't the best at it. We were the only team that didn't really know how to do it, but we were shocked that we made it. And then when I was at the circus challenge, we just assumed that we were out because we hadn't raced with the team all day. We hadn't seen one team since the airport. So we just already automatically assumed that we were out. So I was kind of taking my time at the circus challenge. I was like, oh, la da da da. And then once we got to the mat and Phil told us that that we weren't the last team, it was just like, we thought that he was lying.
Can you repeat the first, like, were the carnival games, like, fun? Because you must have been like, this is a nice stress reliever afterwards.
Yeah, so in Paris, the challenge itself was the stick shift and was like getting your own direction throughout the day. And each leg, like just to get from the airport to Chantilly and then from Chantilly to Bercy, which was the carnival, they were all hours away from each other. So or like maybe an hour, but with our lack of directions, lack of knowing how to drive the stick, they were hours away from each other. So once I got to the carnival, we're already out, so I'm just gonna enjoy myself. So I just made friends with the other people there, and we just like kind of played the games. And it was like that was one of the most fun challenges ever, because at that point I'd already assumed that we were out, so I wasn't stressed anymore.
So I think the pie challenge was in the 5th leg, if I'm not mistaken. So was that fun, and why didn't you eat one of them? Because I would have been starving the entire day. I just want to eat those pies or like take one of those pies.
Yeah.
I would have been starving.
It looked so good.
Bakery.
Oh,
Chantilly,
yeah.
world-renowned bakery.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
and you don't eat during the legs.
Mm-mm.
So, but you don't have time to think about food during the legs. But the clue said to hold on to your pies, and we're like, why? That's stupid. Why would we drop our pie? And then once we walked in, and you can see it on my face, I was like, I saw all the production team standing around, and I was like, hey guys, and then all of a sudden it was like pelt to the face. So that was a really, really funny and fun challenge for us. The 6 shift sucked, but the challenges itself were fun that day.
Well,
Hey, Connor.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Can you hear us?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect. We
what's
had a little
up?
sound issue in our last one.
Yeah, I just have a few questions to ask from that last one back again. Just
Okay,
because the
Thank you
audio
so
is a
much
little
for
bit.
continuing on with us. So sorry we had to cut it off.
Hey, do you have COVID?
What?
Do you have COVID?
No.
Good.
Thank goodness. It's not fun.
And how was your exam?
It was good. I have a final on Thursday, so that's fun.
Good luck.
Yeah,
You're going to kill it.
But yeah, so I just have a few questions from the last one to repeat, but we can
Sure,
always go
perfect.
over those ones last.
Perfect.
Okay.
So going into the 5th leg, you obviously have speed bump, and what was that like? Like cleaning the horses? You had a lot of things to do with horses this season. You had to ride horses and you had to clean them.
There actually was a lot of horses this season. We had the Kazakhstan
Yeah, that's
horses. We
true.
had the Paris horses. It was actually kind of tricky because there was a lot of poo in the. I don't know anything about horse gear, but in the foot part of
Pedals.
the pedals.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you also had to be really particular with the steps that you took. But it didn't tell you which steps to take. So we actually got it wrong a couple times. And, you know, she kept telling us it was wrong. So we had to keep redoing it. So it was kind of time consuming. And I think it looked really easy, but it was actually trickier than it looked.
What was worse, that one or the beards?
I think that the horse was definitely worse in Paris because the beards, they were just itchy, but they took less time to do, and they were actually like a lot of fun and super funny. So we preferred the beards.
Yeah. The beards make for great photos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet the beard bros were jealous of you.
I think
Ours
our beards
were way
were
better than
yeah.
theirs.
Yeah.
My favorite was when you were walking in the store and you were like to that one guy, he's like, "Oh, do you have a clue?" And he was just like looking at your beard like, "What's wrong with you?" Did you guys get do you get any other glances, or did you think that maybe helped you throughout the leg? Like, what is wrong with these girls?
Can you imagine how funny that looked? I think that having the beards definitely helped us because once we arrived in the meat market, everyone knew that we were obviously like on a TV show because we're running around like females with beards. So they immediately told us that it was like the clue was
I
upstairs.
forgot about that. Yeah. I forgot about that.
So the beards helped us.
What was it like on that fifth leg when once again Phil gives you that long speech? Because I saw the unedited version and he was like, "You've had a rough day. It's been really rough. Like you couldn't drive stick shift," and he's going on all these things that you basically went wrong. And then he's just like, "You're not in last." I'm like, I would be like, "Could you just tell me that we're not in last first?"
Yes, exactly. And normally, he will tell you pretty much quicker, but we still thought for sure that we were last. So I think we thought that it was a long-winded speech because it was a goodbye. Yeah. So, and we felt patient because we were like, we're out of here anyway. So we already know the answer. You can, make fun of us before you tell us. Yeah. So yeah, but it was the best feeling ever. I think it was genuine shock and happiness.
Yes.
Oh, I totally forgot. I think this was in the fifth leg, if I'm not mistaken. How much fun was that mask roadblock? Because you guys obviously have like a good eye for detail, I bet, like in your everyday jobs, and you're probably good at observing things. And they've done that like a bunch in the Amazing Race, like even in the older school seasons. So like how much fun was that? Because you guys killed it compared to like most people.
Thank you so much. Which one? The mask?
Are you talking about the one in the
was it in Paris? The one with the mask and you're like in that giant ballroom or whatever and you have to like
yes. So thank you for saying that I killed it because I actually did kill it on that one. It was incredible. Everybody was dressed up and it looked so cool, but it was really confusing because you would think that you had somebody and think that they matched up and then you would pull them out and you're like, no, this doesn't make sense. So I did get that one on my first shot. And it was tricky. It was really tricky, but it was so cool. How often do you get to go into an art gallery in Paris and a castle?
And like have a ball.
Yeah, get to go to a ball. It was incredible. I felt like I went in a time capsule.
Yeah.
So going into the fifth leg, you guys obviously they have a lot more equalizers, so you're caught up. What was it like going to Germany? Because it looked freezing, and obviously being from Charleston, that is my number one fear. Like even with the temperature change now, like when it's like 40 degrees one day and 70 another day, I'm like, I can't handle it. I'll get sick. So what was that like? Because I would die.
We were really excited to go to Germany actually because we spoke a little bit of German actually, and we worked in a racing series where we worked with a lot of Germans, so we were already like pretty familiar with the German culture. So we were super excited for it, but it was the coldest. I think it was colder in Germany than it was in Kazakhstan, and we were freezing. So that was a shock to the system for sure. And we were taking a train, which we hadn't done before, so that was really fun. We were excited.
I also think that you thought it was colder in Germany too, though, because in Kazakhstan, we were on the move and running the entire day. But in Germany, she had to wait 9 times while I did sauerkraut. Yeah. So she was just standing there freezing her butt off. Yeah, so that's probably why you think it was colder too.
That's so weird because however, Kazakhstan or however you pronounce it, I'm not good at pronouncing things.
That's okay.
It looked like when you had to do that, the roadblock, when you had to memorize the things, which I'll get to later, it looked freezing because you had like those Davy Crockett raccoon hats or whatever you call them on, and you looked like really cold in that one. So,
I think that outfit really warmed us up though.
Because you had a jacket, you had a really cool jacket on, and you had the hat on.
And the beard. The beard was pretty warm. I can see why people would like them.
Yeah, same.
So one of my questions also was, this was a secret scene, and I found it really funny. You guys were talking in the car about like organization and like who's carrying what. Kaylynn, why did you take the fanny pack when in the taxi you're like, I lose everything, I'm disorganized? Like, why on earth would you be in charge of that? Because I'm like, I lose everything too, so I'd be like to my partner, like, you're in charge of the passport, you're in charge of this, I'm going to lose it.
That's so funny that you just mentioned that. We actually were just doing an interview and we were saying that, I don't know why I had the fanny pack, but I think that it's because I took the fanny on because I'm more anal than Haley is. So I just like am super particular about certain things, but I am very forgetful and I lose my wallet all the time. So it was a risk me taking the fanny, but I did good with it.
Oh, she did great with it. And she was also the treasurer, which we said in that interview too. She would always handle the money, pay whoever needed to be paid. So when she said she wanted the fanny pack and hold on to it, I was like, you got it.
I think I just wanted the control.
She liked control. Yeah.
So how bad was driving that little, what do you call it? I don't know. That little Trabant car.
The Trabant was awful because, you know, we don't know how to drive a stick very well in the first place, but on top of it being a stick, it was the weirdest car ever. It didn't even feel like a real car. It's made of cardboard in some parts of it. So it was really weird, and we stalled a lot. Kaylynn would have to get up, pick it up to reverse it.
I wish they showed that because that was hilarious. We didn't know how to reverse it, so I'd literally have to pick it up and move the car ourselves. So that was fun.
I wonder if it was faster if you could just like push it, because I know like some people were like, it's like it was not toilet paper, tinfoil, excuse me. It was like the tinfoil. So I wonder if they were just like, I'm not driving, I'll just push this and it'll be erased that way.
It probably would have been easier. And our cameraman, they would say, you know, when we would stall out, they'd be like, okay, this is getting a little scary. If we get hit, this car is made of nothing and we will die.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's so funny. It was like a little Harry Potter car. Yeah.
So how much fun, was it fun dancing in that little thing that looked like a porta potty, or no? Or were you just like, I'm done with this, I just want to get to the next thing?
The teledisco was a lot of fun. It was, how long was that dance? 3 minutes?
Yeah, it was 3 minutes.
And you had to dance the whole time. So you're like nauseated by the end of it, but it was such a fun experience. And we finally found it, and it took us so long to find it. So we were actually doing a celebration dance.
Yeah, we just laughed the whole time.
Yeah.
So I bet you've got this question a lot, but how frustrating was it when you figured out that everybody just told everybody the word sauerkraut? And then, because I was disappointed, not only because I felt bad for you guys, but also because, no offense, D'Angelo wasn't getting that at all. If somebody didn't tell him, he would be there probably today still. He still wouldn't get
That's
it.
what we said.
Like, there are a couple of teams who I know wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
So how frustrating was that? Because I thought it would have been a much more interesting leg if that didn't happen.
We agree.
I totally agree. And I really wish that on that clue it had said not to share answers, which it did later on in Kazakhstan say on a clue you couldn't share answers. So, and I think that they did it because of that. And it was really annoying because it would have been a much more interesting episode, but also it would have been nice to see what everybody else was made of when it came to that, because like you said, I can guarantee there would have been multiple teams right there beside me struggling as well, and everything would have been different. So it was really annoying. Like, we were lucky because we got a non-elimination, but maybe it wouldn't have been us. Bless you. Maybe it wouldn't have been us last had it been a challenge. It wasn't fair.
Yeah, so once you get that clue from that German chick or whatever, you pick the singing Roadblock, and I am disappointed that they did not show this, because in a secret scene, you guys said that you were terrible at singing in the taxi car. So why did you choose singing if you're bad at it? And do you have any like fun? Maybe like you messed up and you were frustrated, it was funny, but like, can you just tell me about that? Because we obviously didn't get to see it.
I love that you've watched all the secret scenes. That's so funny. You're so caught up. We originally picked beer yoga, but it was so late when Haley and I finished the sauerkraut, because we were there for so long, that they had closed. So we only had the choice to go to the singing challenge.
Yeah, because I was thinking that they were closed, because I was like, the beer yoga doesn't seem too hard, because it seemed like you didn't really have to do the poses. You just had to memorize like what they were saying.
Yep.
And they regurgitated to the people, or that's what it seemed like. So I was like, why would they pick something they suck at?
Yes, and we do yoga in our day-to-day life, so that would have been, we would have crushed that challenge, and we drink beer, so that would have been domination for us.
Yeah, it would have.
But I'm glad we did the chicken dance, because that was such a fun experience.
It was hilarious.
And it was so funny in those costumes. So we're happy we did that one.
So what I'm wondering is, you guys obviously said that you didn't know about the Mayan Five, but when you were on your way to the pit stop, or I think we were on the way to the sing, you were on the way to the singing, you were like, oh, I bet everybody like exchanged answers, like they must have, or like whatever. And so then why did you think that there was an alliance, or like why were you just like to what do you call it, like Ishwar and Apara and Leo and Alana, like everybody must have shared answers, like we need to come together or something, or were you just like they just did it as convenience? Because like I don't understand, because in my mind I would be like, why would they want to knock us out? Like we're not doing like well.
Yeah.
We thought that Hung yelled it and that they heard it. So we didn't realize that they actually were literally working together and all teamed up, but we just thought it was kind of an accident on her part that she was coming down and she screamed the answer and that multiple teams heard it. And I don't remember why we thought that, like,
because Hung told us that she was the only one out of the group that got it.
Yeah.
So that's why we thought that.
Yeah. But we didn't know. Like, we thought it was just like a, you know,
A fluke.
and we figured that Leo was there with Aparna, so that's
Which
why he
was
asked her,
what
which
happened.
is what happened with them.
Yeah.
But we had no idea about the 5. We should have. And then we saw in later interviews too, where we were like, they are working together at the very end in India. I think I said it or something.
That was in Berlin.
In Berlin,
That
I
was
said,
in this interview he's talking about. Where
Is
like,
he?
they must have been working together. Oh,
no, you know what I'm talking about, where I was like,
Oh,
yeah.
That was in India.
Yeah, that was in India. And I said they were working together. So we started figuring it out towards the end, but it just took us towards the end to figure it out.
Yeah, because it was weird, because the way that it was phrased in the car, you guys were like, they must have shared answers. So I'm like, why are they not realizing this? But what was it like? You know, obviously Phil gives you these speeches, but in the 6th leg, he's like, you guys were so terrible that it's Thanksgiving and we missed Thanksgiving with the crew. I would have been like, screw you, like, we're like completely lost. You're saying that we're horrible, and then on top of that, you know this 5-person alliance. What do you expect? Like, we don't know any of this stuff.
Yes, Phil was just the best. We loved Phil so much, and every time he would just make such like light of the situation. He was like, you know, we missed Thanksgiving because we've been waiting here all night. Or in Paris, he was like, I've been freezing for hours. So he was just always made such light of it. We're always like, so sorry, Phil. We did it to you again. We are so late. You should already be in your hotel room.
Yeah. And Phil has a good sense of humor, and
he's great.
Like you said, he made light of it. And I think that you and I have a good sense of humor. So we were able to take it that way. Yeah. But I can see what you mean, how some people be like, do you know what I just went through?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like when you get in those like trailer things and they all see you and they're like, you're so lucky? And it's like, excuse me, you're working with 5 teams. Like, we're all like, what do you, like, what? I mean, watching it back, you obviously know about the Mayan Five, but what was that like with them, like, be like, oh, they're just lucky? And I'm like, they're not lucky. They have the worst luck on the season.
Thank you.
Much.
I think at that point we were very nervous and very intimidated to see all the other teams because we just got the 2nd non-elimination, so we just didn't know how they were going to react. But we were really excited to see them, and we were really excited to be a part of it. So we were just like really nervous to see them, but they handled it well. And called us cockroaches behind our back. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, so how did the nickname the Blonde Bandits come about? Because I heard that you had like other team names, like the Female Fatales. Blonde Maintenance, which you hated. So who gave you that name?
I know. I don't know how we got that one.
Yeah, I don't remember how we got Blonde Maintenance. Maybe Will and James might have said it.
We had like our bags of makeup.
Oh yeah, we did. But we got Blonde Bandits because we would show up to a leg and everybody would be like, that cab cost me $100 or 100 whatever the currency was, but we would be like, oh, we actually didn't pay $1. They didn't charge us. And they'd be like, y'all are the bandits. And then we got the non-elims, and then bandits just stuck.
And people would come up to us in the airports, like behind the scenes, and give us presents and stuff.
Yeah.
So going into the Kazakhstan leg, like how nervous were you, like going in, like just barely surviving, or were you like just excited and like we're gonna get redemption? Because you guys actually did run like a good leg, and I think if it wasn't for the speed bump, you probably would have finished in the top of the pack. So how like nervous were you, like going in? Were you just like, my luck is going to run out? Like, what was your thought process going into that leg?
So our thought process going into that leg was we were pretty excited because, you know, we survived yet another leg. We were back again, and then neither of us have ever been to Kazakhstan. And I mean, how often do do you get to go to Kazakhstan? I didn't know anything about it. And then as soon as we showed up there, it was a winter wonderland. It was absolutely beautiful. And then, everything was cool about it. As soon as it started, they come out in a flaming horse with our speed bump bag. So we were like, this is really cool. Yeah. So I think we were always nervous. You stay nervous. You're never comfortable.
You're a ball of anxiety.
You're a ball of anxiety the whole time. But we were more just excited to just keep racing and, hope to live another leg.
Yeah.
So,
how cool was it, like, doing the, what do you call it, like, the memory, like, you had to figure out, like, how many shields were on the thing, and, because that literally looked like, I don't know if you've seen it, but, like, the TV show Vikings, or, like, one of those, like, cool, like, historical, like, TV reenactment shows, so, like, how cool was that? Because they said, like, some, movies and stuff were filmed there, so just, like, from a visual perspective and, like, being there, like, how cool was that?
That was actually Haley's favorite.
Yeah, it was my favorite. And from a visual perspective, it is, you go in there and it's absolute mayhem. You're in the middle of a war and a big fight scene. And so the first couple rounds that we did, we were so overwhelmed. The first one, you don't know what you're looking for at all. So you don't stand a chance to get through the first one, of course. How could you know? But the second one is where we developed the plan to do. I would look for spears, she would look for horses, and we just split the tasks up. Yeah. So I think that's really what helped us. It was that was my favorite challenge of the entire race. It was, to me, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
So did you have to just stand? I think you had to stand on a platform. Was that what made it more difficult, or like could you actually like move around? Because I know in some other memory challenges they let them move around and stuff, but were you like regulated to stand somewhere?
We were regulated to stand on the platform, but we could move all around on the platform. I think that what just made it so difficult is that sensory overload. There's so much going on. There's so much noise in the background, and like your adrenaline's rushing. You look up and there's like another fighter. It's just, there was a lot going on.
And also, too, with that one, the clue said before you walk in, don't share answers with other teams. And you're on the platform. We were on the platform with Leo and Alana. So we knew that we couldn't be standing right next to them because that would, could qualify as possibly, cheating and sharing answers because they could hear, because you have to whisper to each other what you think it is. And so we stayed on the opposite side of the platform.
Yeah, so how shocked were you that, like, in general, like, obviously we've seen, like, so many twists in The Amazing Race, and like I said before, you guys are the most modern team I've interviewed, so I've interviewed people from, like, season 1 and season 2, and, like, the older school seasons and All-Stars when, like, yields were, like, around. So how shocked were you, like, in general, that the yield was back? Because we hadn't seen that in a long time, and, like, were you, like, excited that it was back, like this is going to add another element of gameplay, like before you obviously got yielded, or like what was your thoughts on that?
I think that Haley and I were excited to see the yield back because it is like you have a good chance to get a 20-minute yield, and if you get a 20-minute yield, that's a huge weapon. And also we would prefer a yield other than a U-turn any day, so we were pretty excited about it. And more yields for less U-turns. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So how difficult was it, like, going into the yurt and organizing the yurt? Like, you guys are real estate agents, and I think at the time we were event planners, so I'm pretty sure that you're probably used to, like, the attention to detail and organizing stuff and showing off houses and making sure that they look pretty. So were you like, this is great, this is our calling, we're gonna kill this? And then was there anything that we missed, like, that you guys, like, stumped up at? Because I'm not sure, we didn't get to see, like, you guys get anything wrong. Like, did you get the pig's head or whatever right away, or?
Yeah, we were really excited to see the year challenge because, like, oh heck yeah, we'll be way better at this than the guys will be. And so we're like, okay, we can totally do this. This is our challenge. But it was a challenging challenge because you are having to, like, be barefoot when you're going into the yurts. It's because you don't want to, like, dirty up their yurt. So you have to constantly take your shoes off and run back into the snow, and you're freezing and it's really dusty. So you're like, your allergies are acting up, and it was a lot. But we did really well on that one, and we just forgot to bring our plate. As you see, we're like, can we have it? Can we have it? And they're like, oh my God, we need our plate. But it was funny because right before that, we got a check. And he comes in and he says no, and we're like, but we don't have the head. We don't have the lamb's head. Where's our lamb's head? And they're like, oh my God, that's a challenge. Like, duh. So that's the only thing it didn't show, is that we got it on the second time, not the first try.
So did you guys think the yield helped you yielding Leo and Alana, or at the end of the day were you just like you were far ahead enough of them that it would have been fine anyways? Do you think like that really helped? Because they struggled with the memory stuff, so I don't think they would have done the best at the yurt building anyways. So do you think that was the right move, or?
I think it was the right move because either way, it bought us an extra 20 minutes. But they did come in much further behind than everybody else because they struggled. They were there for what, like five more? How long they there? 7 times, 9 times?
Yeah, but it was the breaks that they took.
Yeah. So in between each fight scene, the actors would all have to take breaks because they were all really cold too. So they'd have to drink hot water and kind of come down for a minute. So in between each fight scene, the actors took breaks, and it really added a lot of time to Leo and Alana's day. So they had already come in far behind us, and it, honestly, they say it didn't make a difference, and I don't think it did either. But for us mentally, it felt good for us to know we had a 20-minute cushion.
Yeah, so how satisfying was it not? I mean, you finished 5th out of 7th, but how satisfying was it, like, not to be at the very bottom and, like, hey, we're making up ground, like, we know that we can compete with these people, like, we passed Ishwar and Apara, like, so how, like, motivating was it, like, considering that, okay, maybe now we have our stride after 3 legs where we were just kind of drained, and now we can realize, oh, even in cold weather when it's freezing and we're not even used to this, we can actually compete with these teams and have a good chance of winning.
We were ecstatic to finally not be in the back of the pack because it also changes your leave time and your start time the next morning. So we were so happy to finally not be the very last team to get to the airport and like to actually be in the middle of the pack with the other teams again. So we were just so happy to finally not be the last team.
So what was it like going to India? I've spoken to a couple of teams that have been to India, and one female from season 1, she was like, it was terrible. I was like screaming at drivers. Like, they were really sexist. And like, I remember watching that season and like 2 girls couldn't even get tickets because they wouldn't give tickets to women. And they made it a non-elimination leg just because of that. Like, it was supposed to be elimination leg or whatever, apparently. So were you nervous, like, going into India, like, maybe dealing with sexism, or did you, like, know that that was a possibility, or, like, what was your thoughts going in there? Because I've seen, like, throughout, like, India, like, those legs look miserable, and, like, you look exhausted, and obviously you got eliminated there. So not only are you going to India, but it's a mega leg. So what was your whole thought process on that?
So for as far as the sexism goes, before we got there, they prepped us to go, and they said that, you know, certain things you can't do. You know, you can't point your finger. If you're going to point to something, you have to use your hand like this. You can't point. And also women can't wear tank tops. So you had to wear, you could wear short sleeve, but we didn't have those. Yeah. So we had long sleeves. So we had to wear long sleeves, and it was really hot. And it was just a big culture shock. You know, there's cows walking in the middle of the road, and there's cages of baby chickens that all dye different colors. And, you know, the driver didn't speak one word to us. So for that, you know, that part was brutal. But on the other end, India was magical on the same. You know, it's the kids were so cute there, and people really were so nice to us. So even the guys were really nice to us. So it didn't feel sexist. I'm sure there were some sexist elements to it, but none that stood out in a way that made us uncomfortable.
Well, that's good, because literally everybody that I've spoken to that have been to India, they're like, it's awful, and the only reason why I went back was to like redeem my awful experience.
Oh no, we had a great time.
Yeah, like obviously it was a rough leg for us, but I mean, every moment in the Amazing Race, like rough or not, we just appreciated so much. It's so cool.
So how nasty was that denture detour? Because that just looked disgusting.
Yeah, the denture detour was not our favorite, and my glove actually popped when it was in his mouth, so I just had my bare fingers in his mouth. So that was not my favorite.
But at the same time, the patients there were so sweet, and you know, they were really patient with us, and you know, they let us put our hands in their mouths. So you know, it was gross in a way because you are putting your hands in your mouth, but they were so sweet and cute that, you know, it was cute.
So going into the detour, you choose the, I think it was called Swami. Like, how difficult was that? Because that guy looked like really hard to understand, and obviously he was like frustrated with you. But I mean, and it's also hard too, because it's not like you don't have GPS, so you don't know where you're going. And I'm not sure like how the street signs were, or I don't know if they were really concise. So how bad was that?
The Swiggy challenge was really, really hard because he doesn't understand you, you don't understand him. And we actually had no idea that there was a camera on him. And when we saw, like, with the upcoming episode that there was a camera on him, we were like, oh my God, this is going to be so embarrassing, because we put him through the ringer. And all the food stops were really far away from each other, and there was so much traffic, and it was just a lot going on. So that challenge was actually really, really, really hard.
So I heard in a podcast that you were actually pulled over for interviews in mid-legs. How frustrating was that? And did you just want to shove some camera guy like on a concrete wall or something like that? Because I would have been like, you are not interviewing me in mid-leg. I'm in a race for $1 million. Would you like to pay me $1 million? I would have been like the biggest bitch possible. So, like, how frustrating was that? Because, like, I don't know how far behind you were. I think I read somewhere that you caught up to a couple teams during the mega leg. So did you actually get interviewed during the middle of the leg, and why maybe weren't you assertive of it? Did you just not?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that in general, Kaylynn and I can be too nice, and it can hurt us because we're assertive, at certain times in life and in our days, but, not always. And maybe we could have been a bit more assertive. But yes, we were, every leg you have a camera person and a sound person. And in that particular leg, the ones that we were matched with, they were incredible. We loved them. But their style was to make you stop in the middle of it and answer questions and, do little interviews. And that was just their particular style, but it did slow us down.
I think in their defense, though, is that it was like the Swiggy challenge where you are running and, we were so stressed out and we really weren't like focusing when they are trying to talk to you while you're running, and you have the phone going on. So we really weren't like answering their questions. So I think that they need to get footage.
Yeah.
So
that's
I think
a big part of it.
Yeah. I think that they probably just like at some points had to stop us and be like, okay, stop for a second. What are we doing right here? Because we were probably like all over the place and not answering their questions while we're running. So
we were definitely definitely. And they were incredible.
Yeah, they were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's weird because I don't know why production would do that, because if Phil knows about the Mayan Five, and obviously they can't help you or anything, why would they want you to go? Like, wouldn't it be better TV if it's like there's 5 of them and there's the one team, and then the one team ends up screwing over all the 5 teams, and then it's like, your plan doesn't work. So, like, I don't understand. I don't know if they did that with other teams, or was it just you on that specific leg? Or, I don't know, like, what that was about.
I know. I mean, it's probably us, too, like, just thinking that, like, okay, like, why are we getting slowed down? And, I mean, also, like, our taxi driver, like, we were out there. They couldn't have done anything else to really slow us down at that point, because our taxi driver got us lost for hours. So by the time we showed up to the Swiggy challenge, Chi and Hung had already tried to do the data challenge, couldn't complete it, left it after many tries, and then went to Swiggy, finished Swiggy. By the time Haley and I got there, they're already done. So we were out from our taxi, so they really couldn't have done much more to slow us down. Yeah, it was us.
Oh,
yeah.
So this might be a dumb question, but how frustrating was it, like, constantly getting lost in taxis? Because I totally get, like, if you get lost occasionally and, like, you don't know where you're going, but it seemed like every leg you guys were constantly lost. So at, like, one point were you just like, what is this? Is this, like, bad karma? Like, what did we do? Because it's, like, it's one thing to get lost once, but it's another thing to get lost, like, 6 or, like, however many times you guys did get lost.
Yeah, that's a great question. We got lost way too much, and we would wonder the same thing, like, is it bad karma? But, it was brutal getting lost so often, but every time we'd get lost and have a really bad leg, the very next leg, we would get saved by a non-elimination, or, something good would happen. So it was a lot of bad luck, good luck alternation, and, that is what kept us in the game. So the bad luck sucked, and the bad taxis sucked. And, again, with that, we probably could have been more assertive and maybe jumped out of the taxi and got a new one, but we didn't know we could do that. So, it was brutal.
Yeah.
So how frustrating was it getting, like, yielded, like, twice or whatever? Because what I don't understand is, like, no offense to Will and James, I'm sure they're great. Like, I love how they're, like, super fans of the race. But I don't understand why they would want to go to the end with Riley and Madison hung in cheek. Because, one, if you're a parent, you have a lot to fight for, like, with your kids and stuff, and so you have extra motivation if you're them. And then, 2, if you're Riley and Madison, if it's anything physical, you're going to slaughter them. And then on top of that, we saw in the, what do you call it, the which I'll get to next. What do you call it? Those people that you had to match up with the iPad or whatever, that Roadblock.
Oh, the virtual challenge, the turban
challenge. And like Will and James were completely panicked.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if it comes down to the finals, which is usually like matching flags or something like that, they usually get panicked in that situation. So I'm like, why are they gunning for the blondes when clearly it's like you can see that one team is a lot more physically strong. They kick your butt in something that involves matching and staying composed. And the other team has a lot more to fight for. So you know that they're going to give like 100% and then some, and not that they're not. So why do you think that they were gunning for you? Because it made no sense.
I think that, they made a pact with Hung and Chi and Madison and Riley to take the three of them to the end. And if they were to go against that pact in any way, then they would be a target. And like, they're super smart because, they made it to the final five. So it was genius of them. But they actually had plans to U-turn Gary and D'Angelo before U-turning us. And that was their plan all along. But once they got to the board, Gary and D'Angelo was right on their tails. I mean, not U-turning, yielding. But once it got to the board, Gary and D'Angelo were right next to them. So it was pointless for them to yield them because the 20 minutes wouldn't have done anything but put a target on their back. So then that's when they had to do it to us because they saw that we were like having struggles with our taxi.
Yeah, so how cool was that doing that Roadblock when you got to go to the huge like temple? You got to organize those people. Like you seem to get through it quickly. Like you obviously had stumbles, but do you think there was an advantage like maybe coming in last in that section because you got to like see how everything was kind of organized and then you just could kind of I don't know, cheat sheet off of it?
It was actually really hard. That challenge was probably one of the hardest challenges for me. We were there for a little while, but I think that it was more of a disadvantage that I wasn't there with the other teams because I didn't get to see like what they are doing. And I was confused to like why certain men were on the placings. I wasn't sure that they were already taken. Because when you go underneath, you're still looking for 18 matching turbans and like they don't get taken out of order once they're used. So it was a little confusing, but once I got it, I was like, okay, I'm done. And it was like, once I understood the concept, I was in and out, but it was confusing.
Did y'all end up getting a break in between legs maybe? Because what I was confused about was, well, not confused. Like we see obviously in other seasons when they have like they're like, keep on racing. You have like a flight and I mean, you're still tired, but like you can sit on a plane and relax. I would die doing that much running. Like, my partner would have to literally carry me. That's why when I go on The Amazing Race, hopefully my partner is like this 6'4" baseball player. We're like completely opposite.
Totally.
I'm the liability. He's the strength of the team.
No, but you're going to bring your own.
You got the wits, the brain, you'll be fine. Yeah,
I have the wits, maybe not the brain. I'm terrible with directions. I can't even tell you directions to my own house.
Yeah, we are too, but you figure it out.
We are so bad at that. But what was the question?
Oh, the break. Yes, we did. They made us stop in between the mega leg because we had been running all day. So, and you have to, normally you don't eat during a leg, but it's normally not as long as that. So they made us stop midday. I think it was probably about an hour maybe to eat, hydrate, and then get back after it.
Did you like that twist? And do you think that they should do it in future seasons? Because we can get to see it in 30. Well, technically 31, I think, was filmed before 32, if I'm not mistaken. Or I'm not sure if the filming dates were exact, but I think one season was filmed after yours or something like that, and they just aired it before. But do you think that they should do the mega leg again, maybe? Because I
think the mega leg was awesome because it was just so many challenges, and it could be an equalizer, because there's so many challenges. So some teams could stumble at certain challenges that others could crush. So I think that I would recommend doing that again. Yeah,
I agree.
It's good TV.
So how fun was riding the horses? Because I would have been like, oh my God, I'm like a king or something. And I would have been like, obviously we have horse and buggy tours here in Charleston, but how much fun was it? Maybe like riding the horses and like you had like on your outfits or whatever, they gave you the little outfits. So how much fun was that?
It was fun and it was beautiful. It was such a cool experience to be there because, you know, it's like, I think we were at a royal kind of palace and, you know, the people there were incredible and it was really cool. But, you know, we had such a long day and we knew we were at the back of the pack. And at that point, we definitely knew that we were out. You know, we just knew it. It had been the longest day and we had been lost for hours. So we knew we were out. So it was very bittersweet. You know, you want to smell the roses and enjoy the race while you can. But at the same time, you know, you're going out. So it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how frustrating was it, like, not even, like, to know that, like, first of all, you're exhausted, and then Phil brings up, like, the whole Mayan Five. And also, I just want to say, your yield reaction was the second best yield reaction. Unfortunately, I think you were beat by the Weavers in the Amazing Race Family Edition, who got yielded and then decided to get McDonald's. And then just started eating McDonald's and saying, we hate everybody. So
if there was McDonald's, we would have totally gotten it. Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely frustrating to hear about the Mayan Five, but it was also like, it was kind of more comforting for us because we realized that they were running with all like 10 brains and that Haley and I were just running with ourselves. So we felt better knowing that there was a Mayan Five because we like felt like, okay, well, things could have been different if they weren't all working together. Like maybe we could have gotten a lot further. So we felt pretty good about it actually, but we also felt a little slightly betrayed.
So what was it like doing the carnival games in the fifth leg? Like that just seemed like really fun. So what was that like?
The carnival games were so much fun and the host of the games, they were awesome. That was probably one of my favorites.
And then what was your expectations going to the race? Because obviously, like I said, the people that I've interviewed, they actually didn't know what the race was for going on and they couldn't even watch it. So obviously, like, you're watching, from your perspective, you're able to watch a bunch of seasons, but what did you expect it to be, and then how is it different?
I think we expected it to be challenging, incredible, you know. It challenges you in every way possible, mentally, physically, emotionally, and we did get to binge it, so we got to see just how hard it is, because it's not just hard for a couple blondes, but it's also hard for athletes and for Harvard graduates and people like that. So it's really hard for anybody. So going in, we knew it was going to be really difficult, and it was every bit of
and
more as we thought it was going to be. But now and more, but also we definitely got further than we thought it would be. So it was incredibly challenging, but also the most rewarding experience you could have.
So what was your first impressions of everyone, and then maybe like how did that change like throughout the race?
Our first impressions of Kelly and Lavonne were like, oh crap, they are such tough competitors. Like they're gonna beat our butts. But they were every bit of tough competitors. Like they were a lot softer and warmer than we thought that they would be. We like thought that they'd be like Olympians, like just straight to the point, but they're actually the funniest people we've ever met in our entire lives. Leo and Alana, they are also the funniest people ever, and like we are obsessed with them. And I think that we thought that they were going to be, you know, the nerds, but they're actually the coolest people ever, and they're so fun. Will and James, they're just perfect and sweet, and it was everything we'd imagine. D'Angelo and Gary, I could say the same. They're big teddy bears, and they're way softer than you would ever imagine, and they are just so humble and just very down to earth. Madison and Riley kind of felt like our brothers because they are just so similar to us, and we love all the teams. Cody and Nathan, incredible teammates. Like they were just so much fun, and they're the most positive people ever, and I didn't expect that.
Same. I think everybody took us by surprise. You don't look at Michelle and Vic and expect like a New Orleans draw to come out and, you know, for her to be as spunky as she is, but then she starts talking, you're like, who are they? And they're all just the coolest humans like, on the planet.
Aparna's a firecracker.
Yeah, you don't expect that.
Kind. Yeah, they're
incredible.
Yeah, I have mad respect for you guys running as siblings, because I don't know how I would run with my siblings. I have a twin brother. I have a twin brother, and we're nothing so alike. Cool. So I can't even imagine like running the race with him. So I give you mad props, because I feel like if you're a sibling, you can like scream at each other more and get into arguments.
Yep.
You know, like if you're running with a friend. So do you have any fun like pit stop stories? Like you obviously get to stay at the pit stop for a couple of hours or whatever. Do you have any fun stories from the pit stops that we didn't get to see? I think you might have stayed in Brazil for an extra day. I'm not sure, but any fun pit stop stories?
Yeah, I think like our first pit stop in Trinidad and Tobago, we were walking past Gary and D'Angelo's interviews, and we hadn't really got to hang out with them yet, but we saw D'Angelo making fun of Gary doing the steel drums, and that was hilarious. And also in Brazil, we got to do a riverboat cruise for Madison's birthday in the Amazon, so that was our favorite.
And then obviously once you get eliminated, you go to sequester. Do you have any fun sequester stories? Obviously you can't give too much away because there are some teams that are still eliminated, but up to this point we've seen up to East Florida and Power get eliminated. So any fun sequester stories from your time currently that's airing, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So Ishwar and Aparna actually never made it to sequester because they got eliminated so quickly to the finale. So they never even made it there. But as soon as we got there, everybody was in a big house in Prague. And Leo and Alana were the first ones we saw. And they're like, oh my God, we're so excited to see you guys. Everybody else is so sick of talking about the race. And it's all we want to talk about. So we went to a fun dinner. And then the next night we had a private chef come and cook us dinner. But we were also there pretty close to the end. So we were only there for a night and a half. Or kind of almost 2 nights before we left. So sequester was short but sweet.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they were like. Well, obviously they were really happy to see you because they're your friends, but I'm surprised it wasn't like a Survivor jury where it's like, God damn it, we're really pissed off that you're here because we wanted you to win and we can't stand everybody else. So it's kind of funny.
I know, they were so excited just to see us that we were all like, I mean, at that point, you were just we had so much to talk about with the Mayan Five that it was just a gossip circle at that point.
So what was that like, realizing like, well, you're out and then you have the Mayan Five, but then you're like, fantastic, they're going to get demolished. Like, we
were ready to see them start like crumbling. We were excited to see the Mayan Five start crumbling because we're like, who are they going to go after next?
Yep.
If you could race with any other team, who would you race with? Or not any other team, but any other partner from your cast, from other casts.
Oh,
like, who would you
one
race
partner? Haley picks.
I normally pick James because James like can really just take you to the top.
Yeah.
He is a super fan. He's seen every episode. He has practiced multiple challenges. He's auditioned 9 times. So he is the utmost super fan. So I think that he would have been, you know, obviously James has his emotional moments, but I also think that he is just such an incredible competitor that he would be, if I were picking to win, I'd pick James.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think I'd pick, I picked last time Riley because Riley speaks like Portuguese, Riley speaks Italian, he speaks Spanish.
And he's hilarious.
He's so funny, and Riley's like smart, and he can drive a 6 shift like back of his hand. So I would probably pick Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the bottle question. How bad was that bottle detour? Because I am horrible at balance. And I watched that on Amazing Race 20, and I'm like, the watermelon and the bottle detour, I'm like, nope, give me an express pass. Not doing that.
That was a hard challenge. The bottle was all about like your balance, and the bottle just crashed on us so many times, and we were so defeated from our long day. So that one was very challenging for us.
Well, that's all the questions that I have. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
You gave a great interview. You're a fantastic host. Thank you so much.
But have a good night. And
thank you so much.
Let you know when this is posted. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Good night,
Bye.
Connor.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.